Arman Tsarukyan has shared a glowing update on Khamzat Chimaev's preparation ahead of UFC 319, where Chimaev is scheduled to challenge Dricus du Plessis for the UFC middleweight title. Chimaev, long hailed as a future champion, is finally getting his shot at UFC gold after a chaotic and at times frustrating journey marked by injuries, illnesses, and inactivity. While his rise was meteoric, finishing opponents across 2 divisions, momentum has often been his biggest opponent. Now, with the middleweight belt within reach, Boris is deep into training camp, and according to Tsarukyan, everything is falling into place. He looks sharp, so I'm excited to see him as a UFC champion, Tsarukyan said during an appearance on the Jackson podcast. So far, his camp is going well. He's healthy. He has a lot of energy, and I'm just here to help him. Whatever they need. If they need the wrestling, I'll wrestle. If they need striking, I'll strike. I'm here to help, and I want him to be a UFC champ. Tsarukyan himself is climbing toward a title opportunity in the lightweight division and knows the value of elite preparation. His close involvement in Chimaev's camp suggests that the Chechen-Swedish star is surrounded by high-level partners who are pushing him to his limits ahead of the biggest fight of his career. The matchup with du Plessis is a compelling one. Chimaev's relentless grappling and pressure against the unorthodox, hard-hitting, and cardio-heavy champion. While public opinion largely favors Khamzat's potential to overwhelm DDP, the South African has made a habit of defying expectations. Still, if Tsarukyan's insight is anything to go by, Chimaev's body and mindset are exactly where they need to be. A focused, healthy Khamzat Chimaev is a nightmare for anyone in the division, and UFC 319 might finally be the stage where that version of him claims the throne. Steven Thompsons' former coach, Ray Longo, has voiced strong opinions about the judging in Thompsons' recent split-decision loss to Gabriel Bonfim at UFC Nashville. In what many saw as a closely contested co-main event, Thompson showcased impressive form and control, especially given his age of 42. Despite a solid performance, the judges awarded the win to Bonfim, prompting a wave of debate from fans and pundits alike. According to Longo, age may have subtly swayed the scoring in a way that disadvantaged the veteran fighter. Speaking candidly in a recent interview, Longo argued that if Thompson were a decade younger and seen as a rising contender instead of a veteran nearing the twilight of his career, the outcome might have been different. He 100% won the fight, Longo said. You know what the problem is that I have? It's conspiratorial, but if Steven was 34 years old and he was on the come-up, he's winning that fight. They give it to him. That's my honest belief. Longo compared the situation to the controversial decision in the Paddy Pimblett vs. Jared Gordon fight, implying that Bonfim did little to secure the final round, especially when it came to effective offense. The guy went in the 3rd round, trying not to fight, not even to try to take him down. And the only damage in the 3rd round was done by Wonderboy Thompson. And that's why he wins that fight. He went on to argue that the result was not a clear robbery, but it was still unjust by the sport's own standards. If you go on damage, he's the guy with the damage, they F that up. I'm not saying complete robbery, but it's a robbery based on the criteria. The other guy went out there not to fight. Bonfim lost that fight. How does it benefit him? It's almost disgraceful. Despite the disappointment, Thompson handled the outcome with class, as he always has throughout his career. At 42, he not only held his own against a younger, undefeated opponent, but arguably outperformed him. Regardless of what the scorecard said, Thompson's performance served as another reminder that he remains a dangerous and relevant force in the UFC welterweight division. Paulo Costa is heading into UFC 318 with urgency, intensity, and the understanding that he may be fighting for his future in the sport. The Brazilian middleweight has experienced a roller-coaster UFC career. Once seen as a rising star and potential champion, his momentum has slowed dramatically in recent years. A string of losses, inconsistent performances, and long gaps between fights have cast doubt on his standing as a true contender. Now Costa looks to reset everything in a high-stakes matchup against the dangerous Roman Kopylov this Saturday night in New Orleans. This fight offers Costa a major opportunity, not just to earn a win, but to remind fans and the UFC brass of the powerful force he once was at 185 pounds. While he's shown flashes of brilliance throughout his UFC run, including his explosive wars with Yoel Romero and solid performances earlier in his career, those moments have been overshadowed by issues outside the cage and defeats inside it. If he's going to make another run toward the top, UFC 318 may be his last real shot. His opponent, Roman Kopylov, brings a dangerous skill set to the table. Known for his crisp striking and calm demeanor under fire, Kopylov is more than capable of spoiling Costa's comeback plans. But Costa doesn't seem fazed. In fact, he's projecting confidence heading into the fight, suggesting that fans won't need to wait long for a finish. "I know how to fight against Southpaw," Costa said in a recent interview. "He's dangerous, but I'm very prepared for that, and I'm excited. This fight going to be short. Not so long, I think 2 rounds, maybe even the first round." Costa's prediction speaks volumes about where his mindset is. He appears to be locked in, mentally sharper than we've seen in a while, and determined to take control of the narrative. While he's often been unpredictable both in and out of the cage, Costa knows that he can't afford to be reckless here. He needs to find the right game plan, commit to it, and execute with discipline. The pressure is on, but Costa has the tools to deliver if he's truly dialed in. A convincing win over Kopylov could reinsert him into the title conversation, while another disappointing performance could mark the beginning of the end of his UFC run. Either way, Paulo Costa is promising action, and if history is any indicator, fans are in for a wild, potentially short, and violent fight at UFC 318. Israel Adesanya will face Shawn Strickland in a rematch at UFC 320, scheduled for a headline slot at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The announcement hit social media via the Octagon Pulse platform and has spread rapidly through fight news groups. This rematch promises to reignite one of MMA's most controversial rivalries. Their first encounter at UFC 293 ended with Strickland shocking fans by defeating Adesanya via decision, an upset thrown into sharp relief by the animosity they've built since. Adesanya has openly expressed a desire to run it back, suggesting he plans to make this fight happen in the fall. UFC 320 will mark a major moment in both fighters' careers. For Adesanya, it's a chance to reclaim dominance after losing his belt to Strickland. For Strickland, it's a high-stakes opportunity to confirm that his first win wasn't a fluke. And for UFC fans, it's a long-awaited sequel on one of the promotion's biggest stages. No further details have been announced yet, such as undercard fights, October card, or official broadcast channels. But this matchup has quickly become one of the most compelling events of the year. UFC President Dana White is generating serious buzz as he hints at what could be the most significant television rights deal in the promotion's history. With the current partnership with ESPN winding down, speculation is swirling about where the UFC might land next, and White is keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Appearing on the Full Send podcast, White didn't confirm any finalized agreement, but made it clear that seismic changes could be on the horizon. "The world's going to change a lot in the next year with our rights deals," White said. "Depending on where we end up, but more than likely, we're going to end up with a platform that is way more global than we are now." While White insists that nothing is finalized, "Literally have zero info on that right now," he emphasized. Industry insiders are already watching platforms like Netflix closely. The streaming giant has already inked a deal to host WWE programming starting in 2026, making it a natural potential landing spot for the UFC under the TKO Group umbrella. The UFC's past media moves have always been part of a clear upward trajectory. from Spike TV, where the sport broke into the mainstream, to Fox, which brought UFC into millions of American households, then to ESPN, which helped elevate UFC's profile further with a long-term digital and broadcast integration. Each step has grown the brand globally and increased its commercial value, and White is aiming even higher for the next deal. Global reach and digital flexibility appear to be the main priorities. White's comments point toward a future where the UFC becomes even more accessible worldwide, potentially through a major streaming service that can offer international exposure, flexible distribution, and major revenue upside. While details are still under wraps, the implications are huge. A Netflix deal could revolutionize live sports on streaming, opening the door for more premium fight cards, behind-the-scenes content, and possibly pay-per-view restructuring. Alternatively, a renewed agreement with ESPN or another sports powerhouse like Amazon Prime Video could solidify UFC's mainstream US dominance while pushing further into global markets. In typical Dana White fashion, he's playing his cards close, but make no mistake, this next move could be one of the most pivotal moments in the UFC's modern era. Dustin Porier is ready for one last war before closing the curtain on his storied MMA career. Set to headline UFC 318 in his home state of Louisiana, Porier will face Max Holloway in a high-octane battle for the BMF title. The stakes are personal, emotional, and legacy-defining. More than just a retirement bout, this is Poirier's final chapter, and he wants to go out in the kind of fight that defines everything he's been about: grit, heart, and violence. Every tear, every drop of blood, every drop of sweat was worth it, Poirier said during UFC 318 Countdown. If I could go back to when I was 17 years old, I would do it again. I want this to be the best fight. It's my last one. I'm trying to be in the moment and make the most out of the last ride. I want a war like this is going to be. A fight of the night type of fight. That last ride happens in New Orleans, where the Lafayette native will walk to the octagon in front of a roaring Louisiana crowd. It's a poetic send-off for the Diamond, who's battled through 2 decades in the sport, earning respect for his relentless style and humble approach. This trilogy with Holloway carries history. Poirier submitted Max in their first meeting back in 2012 and outpointed him in their 2019 rematch, a 5-round classic for the interim lightweight belt that earned Fight of the Night honors. Now, with both men looking to etch one more unforgettable memory into UFC lore, expectations are sky high for another war. Poirier enters UFC 318 with a record of 30-9, most recently coming off a valiant but unsuccessful title bid against Islam Makhachev. But in typical Poirier fashion, he's focused on writing his final page with courage and pride, regardless of outcome. "I'm the reason why the UFC is coming back to Louisiana, so this is special for me," Poirier said. "All my people are there. This is what dreams are made of. I couldn't have written this. This is beautiful. A lot of guys get to retire in big ways. But Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, is going to be playing when I walk out of there." Win or lose, Dustin Poirier isn't just chasing victory, he's chasing a moment. One that echoes everything he's given and everything he stands for. Khamzat Chimaev may be fighting for UFC gold this summer, but for Paulo Costa, the beef between them is far from over, and it goes beyond the usual pre-fight trash talk. According to Costa, Chimaev took things to a personal level in the lead-up to their cancelled clash in 2023 by sending a direct message to his longtime girlfriend, Tamaya, with comments that crossed the line. Originally slated to meet in the octagon in October 2023, the matchup between Chimaev and Costa fizzled out when Costa was forced to withdraw due to a serious elbow infection. While fans had hoped the fight would be rescheduled, their careers moved in separate directions. Chimaev remained unbeaten and surged toward title contention, while Costa continued to drift amid inactivity and tough losses. Still, the fire between them clearly hasn't burned out. Speaking to Ariel Helwani, Costa revealed his deep frustration with Chimaev, not just professionally, but personally. Chimaev. "Yeah. This son of a, I want to fight this guy," Costa said bluntly. "I have tried to fight him for a long time. We have a beef inside the PI, and he has been avoiding fight me. But it's what happened outside the cage that has stuck with Costa the most. He sent a message for my girl Tamaya. He says something like, 'I'm going to beat your husband and I'm going to do bad things.' This is something that pissed me off, and I want to put these things inside the cage." For Costa, the disrespect went well beyond normal promotional antics. Personal insults and professional rivalries are part of the game, but dragging family or significant others into the mix is a red line for many fighters, and Costa is no exception. While the fight may not be on the calendar, Costa made it clear. He still wants that bout, and he still wants to settle it with fists inside the octagon. As the two go their separate ways for now, both will be back in action this summer with massive opportunities. Costa is set to face heavy-handed Roman Kopylov at UFC 318 in New Orleans, a fight that could help re-establish his name in the middleweight ranks. Meanwhile, Chimaev will get the biggest fight of his career at UFC 319 in Chicago, when he challenges Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight championship on August 16th. Whether or not their paths cross again, the animosity is real, and Costa seems more motivated than ever to turn that personal grudge into professional revenge. A compelling new name has entered the UFC heavyweight mix at a pivotal moment for the division. With Jon Jones now officially retired after a 2-year reign, the torch has passed. Interim champion Tom Aspinall has been elevated to undisputed status, kicking off a new era for the big men. And while Aspinall weighs his next title defense, with names like Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov, and Jailton Almeida in the running, the UFC has made a major addition to its heavyweight talent pool. Marcus Buchecha Almeida, a 17-time BJJ world champion and one of the most accomplished grapplers in MMA history, has signed with the UFC. The 35-year-old Brazilian brings a 5-1 pro MMA record into the octagon and is set to make his UFC debut on July 26th at UFC Abu Dhabi. He'll face Slovakia's Martin Buday in his first bout under the banner, in what could be a tone-setting fight for both men. Almeida's last appearance came in November 2024 at 169, where he secured a slick first-round submission over former Greco-Roman world champion Amir Aliakbari. That win reminded fans and analysts why many view him as the best heavyweight grappler in the sport. His lone loss remains a decision to current one heavyweight champion Umar Regroyd Kane, an opponent known more for his brute strength than finesse. Though new to the UFC, Almeida is far from inexperienced. His transition from pure grappling to MMA has been methodical, and his style presents a unique challenge for most heavyweights in the division. He's shown finishing instincts and positional dominance that could make him a nightmare matchup for less well-rounded opponents. He won't get an easy welcome, however. Buday, his debut opponent, is no stranger to tough fights. With a 15-2 overall record and 6-1 inside the UFC, the Slovakian has quietly built momentum with solid performances against veterans like Andrei Arlovsky and rising names like Uran Satibaldiev. Buday combines size, durability, and fundamental boxing, and he'll look to test Buchecha's ability to handle a UFC-caliber grinder over 3 rounds. UFC Abu Dhabi is shaping up to be more than just a debut stage for Almeida. The event is being hailed as one of the most loaded fight night cards of the year, with top-tier matchups across multiple divisions. In the main event, former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker will face off with Reinier de Ridder, a 2-division title holder and 1 championship, making his UFC debut. The bout headlines the card and offers Whittaker a chance to reaffirm his elite status against an unorthodox but dangerous challenger. The co-main event may carry title implications of its own. Featherweight contender Movsar Evloev puts his undefeated record on the line against Bellator import Aaron Pico. It's a high-stakes clash between two of the most dynamic prospects outside of current championship contention, with the winner likely earning a top 5 ranking. Elsewhere on the card, former bantamweight champ Petr Yan, looks to break a 3-fight skid when he faces Marcus McGee, a hungry up-and-comer sitting just inside the top 15. Bryce Mitchell, known for his relentless pressure and grappling at featherweight, drops to bantamweight to face Said Nurmagomedov. Also featured, 15-1 Shara Magomedov returns to face durable Canadian veteran Marc-Andre Barriault. With a fresh champion at heavyweight, contenders jockeying for position, and world-class talent flooding in from other promotions, UFC Abu Dhabi arrives at just the right moment. And for Marcus Almeida, it could be the beginning of something big, or a harsh welcome to the most competitive roster in the sport.